There you go. Okay. So now, my good people, I'm going into content. All right. And I'm not going back into the week 3 module, but I am going into this new module that was just added. And it has no date, but it's right here. And this again is our first essay, and the directions are in here along with the folder where you upload it. You can just click on the assignment, and it takes you to the instructions, and then here's a space for you to upload it. All right. But you can read the direction, read the prompt here, or you can open it as a Word doc, like I always do. All right. You can just click on it and it opens right up as a Word document. All right. I'm just gonna get mine open.
Wait, where
Okay.
does it show that? I don't see that on
Go
my.
hold on for a sec.
Okay.
John,
You
where
might have
where
to reset it because I had just
Oh,
didn't
did
show
you
that.
just add it?
Yep. So yeah, if you
Oh,
were already on D2L, you might have to refresh your page. All right.
I refreshed. I still don't see it. What the heck?
Can you see it's right after the week 3 module.
Oh, I'm just blind. I got it.
No,
Thanks.
sorry. All right. So yeah, just click on that. Boom. And that'll take you here. And then there's a couple ways to access it. You can either click on it or you can just go to the drop down thing and oh, duh. Okay. I'm so used to doing things in the teacher's view. Okay. So you do have to click on it as students. All right. And then here's the prompt, or here's the directions right here. But again, if you just want it as a Word document, it's right below it. All right, just click on that and it opens as a Word doc. Okay. Why do I have two of these things open? Boom. Okay. So now before we even go over this thing, again, just a process. Like I said, when we went over the syllabus, all those weeks ago, seems like all those weeks ago, every essay that we do is going to go through three drafts, right? There's two rough drafts and then a final draft. So my advice that I give to students, in the first draft, of course, you want to try to organize it. You want to try to, make it as best as you can for that first draft. But just keep in mind that your first draft is really all about getting your ideas out. All right. All about getting your ideas out and not necessarily worrying about how it sounds in that moment because you're gonna have opportunities to revise. So don't think don't get caught up in putting so much pressure on yourself to try to make the first draft into the final draft. All right. And it doesn't matter what class you're in or what you're writing. Usually the first draft doesn't come together the way you want it. And that's with whether you're writing an essay for a class, whether you're writing, book length material. Like if we look at our book for the class Born a Crime, I'm sure this book went through many versions before it was published. All right. And it's the same thing with us. Now, the only difference is, we have a timetable, that we have to adhere to. But for the most part, this class is all about, just showing constant improvement. So, if your first draft is not coming together the way you want it to, that's fine, right? That's fine. And another piece of advice I say to students, especially in the first draft, if you're writing and you get a little bit of writer's block, don't just throw the towel in. Don't just throw in the towel. All right. If you get writer's block, take a break. Okay, take a break and then go back into it. But I think what can work against you or what works against many students that I've encountered is sometimes a student will say, man, I just like I got stuck, right? And they stop writing. Getting stuck is a normal part of the writing process. All right. But again, just if you get stuck, don't stop there. Okay, keep going. Or take a break and then come back and keep going. All right. So yeah, getting stuck, getting writer's block, things not sounding the way you want them to sound. These are normal parts of the writing process. So don't let those aspects of the process frustrate you. Also, if you if you get that first draft back from me, and there's a lot of commentary on there or a lot of feedback, and I do tend to write on your papers. I won't say a lot. Well, it's relative, but I do put a good amount of feedback on your papers, especially early drafts. But one, evaluate the content. I mean, evaluate the feedback. But two, don't it doesn't mean that your paper's bad, because there's a lot or there are some things that need to be improved on there. It means just that, like here's what works in this paper, and here's what can be improved upon. So what I'm saying is this, my people. All right. Part of the writing process is writing with confidence. Okay. And you can write with confidence if you allow yourself the space to say, all right, this is just a draft, and I know that I'm going to go back and revise this. Okay. So now here's the prompt. Okay. 1060, instructor chose the essay. What life lessons have you learned from adversity? Another thing I also have to say, just from a logistical standpoint, I just said 2 rough drafts and a final draft. All right. Of course, that's great for the writing process. All right. Doing multiple drafts, but it's also mandatory for this class, meaning you cannot pass this class if you don't have 2 rough drafts and a final draft in of each essay. Why? Because that's portfolio material. All right. So in order for your portfolio to be considered complete, you have to follow this process where you have 1 draft, the second draft, and then the final draft. All right, for this essay and for our comment essay. So make sure you're sticking to deadlines. And if you're struggling to meet deadlines, don't wait until like the day that it's due or the day after it's due to say like, hey, I had an issue with this. All right, that's one thing that hurts students. It's normal to struggle, with an assignment. All right, especially an essay, because essays are can be challenging. But I think the mistake, students will make is waiting till the day that it's due to make their issues known. And in doing that, you limit the opportunities you have for help, because now you're kind of pressed up against like time. So if you're having issues, that's cool, right? Just let me know. See a tutor. Okay, Mr. McClin is our tutor. I'm still trying to get a hold of him, but again, with all the stuff going on, in Washington, he may be unavailable right now. Mr. McClin, our tutor, is also active military duty. I don't know if I shared that with you all, but when something's happening, he gets called into action. All right, but I'll keep working on it. All right. Also, there's tutors in the academic support center, and we have NetTutor. All right, but your first draft, again, don't put that pressure on yourself to make it into the final draft.
Excuse me, Professor Norwood.
Yes.
I already signed up for tutoring. I had a tutoring session yesterday,
Nice.
but I didn't choose the young man you just said. So do
Mr.
I?
McClin. Now, you can go to any tutor you want. It's just that Mr. McClin is the one assigned to our class. So now you can see any tutor you want though.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people have a tutor that they just gravitate towards. That's fine. Mr. Mack, he's just the one who's been like assigned to work with our class exclusively. But I mean, Mr. Mack has a tight schedule, so if you can't get in touch with him, or you can't work with him, then by all means, go to whatever tutor you want to. That's
okay. Perfect. Do we get extra credit for go to tutoring?
extra credit? No.
We need it. We all need it. I'm speaking for all of us.
No, not for that. But I can show you. Actually, I'll get the academic support center. They have like seminars, meaning like they have things on like time management, and they just have a lot of good ones. All right, and I'll post the schedule for that, and go to those, and I'll give you some extra credit. Actually, let me stop lying.
Perfect. Oh, let you stop lying?
No, I want to see if they put the new schedule up yet. And actually, it'll be convenient because, all of these will be online. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh yeah. Okay. So if you go to the ASC's homepage, and of course, you can go here and secure a tutor, but if you go to this one, ASC online seminars, and you look at the ones that are being offered, time management, these two will be great for our class: textbook reading and taking notes effectively. All right, math. Yeah, I don't really deal with math. I'm already getting bad memories of being in summer school every year in high school. All right, so textbook reading. Let's click and see when. Oh, okay. These are due anytime you want. These are like you can do them on your own schedule. Oh, nice. Yeah. So do some of these things, and I'll hook you up with some extra credit. That's no problem. All right. So again, I am on the ASC's homepage, and I just got there from OCC. I just went in academics, and then I went to ASC, or Academic Support Center. And if you click on tutoring or tutoring and seminar schedules, I just went to ASC online seminars. Bam. Okay, there it is. Oh, this is nice. Okay. And I've had students take these in the past where there were like face-to-face sessions, and students really gain from these. I'm not just saying that because I'm a teacher. All right, like this one, this is something I would be interested in going to. Learn how to learn in harmony with your brain, because I'm just interested in how, like, the neuroscience aspect of learning, like basically how to condition our brains to learn more effectively. So yeah, go to some of this stuff. Oh, writing success. What? Oh, so all kinds of resources. All right. But you do have to sign up. All right. So that's the catch. All right. So yeah, go to one of these things. Okay. Yeah. Okay. See, I said it. I'm glad you brought that up. Turn us on to some more resources. All right. Actually, you know what I can do? I can put a message on D2L with just a link to that to make it easier for you guys to get to it. Okay, that is great. Okay, now, okay, here's the deal. Oh, just another quick thing about tutoring. If you are going to see a tutor for this assignment, show them this. Show them the writing prompt, because it's going to help them understand the assignment better, and then they can assist you more effectively. So always bring the assignment to them. Okay, always bring the assignment to them. Okay, so bam, here we go. The obstacles we face in life are often the greatest teachers. Each time we fall, we eventually rise stronger and wiser. All right, think of a time in your life where you experienced a setback. Okay, this experience could be related to your education, upbringing, employment, family, health, something that's new. Maybe you really struggled, during this pandemic. I know most of us had our lives turned upside down in one way or another. All right, whether it's dealing with like personal loss, maybe you had COVID and you went through that. Maybe your employment was affected. So, if you, even though it's not on here specifically, if you do want to write about, your experiences during, during this interesting time, all right, by all means do that. All right. And then, writing, right? Um, it's one of those things that can, of course you write for school, but when we take it out of that context, it is one of those practices that can help you get what's inside out, which can be, liberating when you think about it. Just on a personal level, for me, writing kind of helps me figure things out. All right. Or if I'm, going through something in my life, just writing about it kind of helps me make sense of everything. All right. So yeah, experience, education, family, health, pandemic, whatever. Okay. So that's one part of this assignment. You're going to reflect on this experience. Show your reader, here's what I went through. Okay. It was a trying time in my life. And then the follow-up or the next aspect of this paper is like, yeah, I went through this thing, but here's what I learned from it. Okay. So reflect on what you learned. So you're going to discuss the experience and then discuss the overall lesson that you learned from that experience. Like I just told you all, I really struggle with math. Basically my whole academic career, but mostly in high school. Okay, mostly in high school. All right. Part of it was, me not understanding it, but another part of it was just me taking this, I don't care attitude. All right. So if I were to write about that, I would discuss the details of it. How did I feel sitting in the back of the class, thinking everybody's smarter than me. All right, because I don't understand what's going on. All right. And then the lesson I would learn, a lesson I would discuss is like, I had to learn to take better advantage of my resources, or I had to learn, really take things more seriously. All right. So, that would be the grand lesson. Okay. And then maybe I'll talk about how I applied that lesson. All right. So yeah, it's your life. No rights, no rights are wrong here. Really, the only right or wrong here is, tell your story and tell it true. Okay. Don't tell anybody else's story. Okay, so this is your chance to show a little of what has helped you become the person you are today. Now, this is where we get more detail because again, these are portfolio guidelines. In an essay of 4 full pages, the final draft has to be 4 full pages. In your first draft, I'm only asking for 2. All right, so the first draft only has to be 2 pages. Now, if you want to go beyond that 2, that's fine. All right. If you want to go beyond 2 pages, that's fine for this first draft. But for the first draft, I'm asking for 2 pages and maybe a plan to figure out where you want to go from there. Or, after you turn in your 2, maybe that's our discussion. We can discuss where you take it from there. All right. So in an essay of 4 full pages using MLA formatting guidelines, discuss some or one of the challenges you have faced and what you have learned from them. Okay. What'd you experience? What'd you learn from it? And don't think because maybe you're 17, 18 or whatever, you don't have, things that you can write about, or, maybe you're saying, well, I haven't had that many trying experiences in my life. All of us have been through something. All right. Could be loss of a loved one, or, it could be, like I said, maybe it's, getting cut from the basketball team or something. All right. So, think about that. There's lessons in all of our experiences is what I'm saying. All right. Yeah. And again, take the pandemic into consideration, right? Many of us, if not all, yeah, all of us, or none of us, I should say, have experienced the pandemic, to this degree, right? This is something, unprecedented, all right, in most of our lives. Okay. So now this is the first essay for your portfolio. First essay for your portfolio. All right. You will need at least 2 rough drafts and 1 final draft for this essay to be considered complete. So when it's all said and done, when we're done with this process, everybody will have 3 drafts and everybody will have at least 1 full 4-page draft when it's all said and done. Okay. Again, for the first draft, don't pressure yourself into trying to get that perfect draft, because it's not going to happen. And that, again, that's with anything we write, with any writer. Okay, it is rare that you write something and to say, oh, this is cool. All right. And truth be told, the only time we really do that is when there's a deadline. It's like, man, I got to turn this thing in. Okay, yeah, it looks good. It's good enough. All right. I did that one time. I waited till the last minute to apply for this job and had to revamp my resume. And when I uploaded my resume, I was like, man, got a typo. But it was too late at that point. Like I had already submitted it. Okay. So what I'm saying is, okay, first drafts of anything, probably not the draft you want people to see. Okay. Start by brainstorming. What are you going to talk about? I think that's the first thing. That's the first thing we have to hash out, right? What are you going to talk about? Okay, think about your life. And I think for the first part of this assignment, you're just going to have to do some reflection or some recall. Okay. Some of our experiences are fresh because they just happened yesterday, or maybe we're still in the midst of it. But some of our experiences happened, maybe in our childhood or, maybe several years ago. Okay. And also, here's the thing about these essays, right? You don't have the time or the space to tell your life story. Okay. You don't have that. I'm sure, it's fascinating and you've all had like many, many, many interesting experiences, but we just don't have the time or the space to discuss your life story. And really part of an essay is, writing about focusing an essay, right? Writing about what you're being or responding to the prompts is what I'm saying. All right. So don't start, I was born, okay, by the river in a little tent. All right. So yeah, don't start with the moment you were born and then, as I sit in academic literacy, all these years later. All right. So yeah, focus on a specific thing that happened in your life or a specific period in your life, but don't tell your entire life story. All right. Because, say you got to save something for the book, right? Or save something for the documentary. Okay. So that should be worked out in the brainstorming process though. Okay. So what happened? When did it happen? Who was involved? What did you learn? What did you learn from this experience? What did you learn from? Okay. Everybody who calls themselves your friend is not your friend, right? All money isn't good money. Okay. I definitely learned to take school more seriously. And then I had to learn that lesson again when I got to college because I was a freshman twice because I was just unprepared my first year. Unprepared like academically and definitely unprepared for the level of freedom that being away from home entails. All right. So now think about what details you're going to include, what parts of your personal story involve significant detail, and then what parts require only minimal detail. And the answer to that question is, what's necessary for the story. Okay. What's necessary for my reader to understand this experience I'm relating to them. And think about the spaces in your essay where you want to include some detail, like some vivid detail. And then, think about the parts of your essay where you want to just say, okay, a tree is just a tree. All right. And again, how you determine that is by asking yourself the question, right? Like, okay, what's essential? What's essential to this experience? Okay. What's necessary? All right. And then most importantly, and really this is one of our main goals of this class, this last point, because all of this speaks to organization. Okay. And that's one of the benchmarks we should be hitting by the time we exit this class. Okay. And if organization is still a work in progress for you, that's perfectly fine at this stage. Okay. Actually, getting the like going through this drafting process is really helpful when it comes to organization. All right. So think about it. How are you going to start? Okay. How are you going to start? All right. What's going to go? And, I'm sure. Well, now I'll hold what I'm about to say to where I get to, or for when I get to some material I want to discuss. All right. Because I have an analogy for like how to organize your paper. Okay. How are you going to open your paper? Right. Because your introduction is where you draw your reader in. So how are you going to get their attention? And then how are you going to keep it throughout your paper? Like what details will you use in your body paragraphs? And then how are you going to wrap it up? Okay. Start strong, finish strong. Okay. And then working on a rough draft. Okay. Use this space to get your ideas on paper. First draft, we should be concerned, is where we should be the least concerned with how our paper looks. Okay. And I know it's hard, like it's hard for me to get students to take pressure off of themselves, because I'm not putting any pressure on you. So, you know, don't put a don't have an anxiety attack about this assignment, because, you know, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Okay. Now, here's just some tips. Okay, start with an intro that includes an attention grabber. Okay, attention grabber is just, you know, some kind of statement, you know, that gets your reader's attention. Could be a quote, right? You know, Martin Luther King once said X, Y, and Z. All right, or, you know, whoever you find a quote from. The key to starting with a quote, though, is to choose something short. And when I say short, I mean like a line or two. Choose something short, and then choose something that's relevant to what you're going to be talking about. All right, but, you know, quotes are a great ways to begin. You know, maybe some shocking statement or some provocative statement, something that's going to generate your something that's going to pique your reader's interest and say, hey, you know, I want to keep reading this thing. Okay. Attention grabber, you know, some kind of reflection on your topic. And no matter what we're writing about in this paper, all of our topics, we all have the same topic, which is overcoming obstacles. All right, so maybe you want to just reflect on that, you know, for part of your intro. Just a few lines about, you know, what it means to overcome something. Like if we look back at the prompt, right? Here's just some reflection on overcoming obstacles, right? Running out of colors. I use this one yet. Okay. I don't use red as a teacher because it just affects students negatively. All right. There's research to support that. Okay, so the obstacles we face in life. Yeah. So maybe you can start with something, or something like this. That's what I mean by reflection. Reflect on obstacles, not this part. All right. Not think of a time in your life, but yeah, maybe you start there. Okay, that's fine. Oops, didn't mean to open my email. All right. So yeah, and then a thesis statement. Okay, now a thesis statement for a narrative, which is what we're writing, a personal narrative, you can just state the lesson, right? You know, after spending 5 years in summer school for algebra, or no, if I was writing this paper, I would say, you know, after you know, spending 2 years as a freshman in college, I learned blah 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 blah, or I learned, you know, to take my education more seriously. Okay. And then when I came back, I had to pay out of pocket. So I was definitely taking it seriously at that point. All right. Like my grades were so not good that I had to pay out of pocket at first. Yes.
Is that included in the introduction then? I haven't written a paper in a long time, so I'm trying to. So is it
Your thesis? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Your thesis should be the last sentence of your intro. Oh, and here's what I will get a few examples from last semester and just take the names off of them and then post them on D2L so you guys can see, you know, a living, breathing example of how this thing works. Okay. And yours doesn't have to look like the example. I just wanted to give you some pointers. Okay.
Do you have access to this document?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go in content on D2L, and then look in the click the instructor chosen essay module, and then click the assignment. Okay, here's the prompt. This is what I'm reading from, but if you want it as a Word document, you just want to go, oh, that's right. You just want to click it, and then the Word version is right here. Just click that and it opens as a Word, or it downloads as a Word document to your computer. Click it. Mine's already open, so I'm not gonna click it again. Okay. So yeah, sharing is caring, man. Sharing is caring. Okay. But use the body of your essay to discuss your experiences. Okay. Ooh, concrete details. Concrete details. All right. So again, just to use my own experiences as an example, like if my essay is about the reason, I had to spend 2 years as a freshman, my essay would be about, my essay would include those details. Okay. It would include like a discussion of me, not going to class, or, just this rule I had, if I missed my first class of the day, then I wasn't going to any of them. All right. Or I would talk about, being, hundreds of miles away from home. All right. And I'm down where it's hot, and it's like, there's people everywhere, there's parties and stuff. So I would talk about all that is what I'm saying. So I would include those details about, how I, was not successful that year. All right. And then, I would continue that discussion, with the follow-up. All right. It's like I messed up, that year. Now what happened? Okay. I went home and was sitting there. Okay. Not doing anything, seeing my friends doing the same thing that they were doing, when I left for college. All right. And deciding I didn't want that to be me. And then finally, I'll wrap up like, here's what I learned. Here's how I applied it. Okay. So that's what I mean by like visualizing your paper. All right. Think about the flow of it. Like I said, like if I was putting this paper together, the flow would be, messed up my freshman year. How did I mess up? What happened as a result? And then what happened when I got the ship right? Okay. So think about how you want your paper to flow. Okay. Think about how you want your paper to flow. And with most writing, and you'll probably hear me say this a dozen or more times this semester. And if I have you for Comp 1, you'll hear me say it 100 more times. But the work you do in the beginning of an essay, meaning like the brainstorming and the pre-writing and all that, that really goes a long way. Because it's hard to sit down at your computer and just start banging out a paper. And by the time you get up, you're done with that paper. And I'm talking about like doing that with no forethought. Okay, that's hard. And I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I'm saying like that's a stressful process. But I think if you, follow, okay, let me get my ideas together first and then start writing. All right, that makes the process, a lot less stressful. Okay, I was gonna say easy, but writing an essay is never easy. I don't want to give you all any illusions about that. Okay, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Think about your conclusion. Don't put any new material in your conclusion. The main thing about a conclusion of an essay, you want to give your reader a sense of closure, meaning you don't want them expecting more. So your conclusion, let's wrap it up. Okay, you can reinforce, the lesson that you learned, or if you began with a quote, you can revisit that quote in your conclusion. All right, and I think one of the main things about conclusions is just think about what you want your audience to take from your paper. What do you want them to take? What do you want them to get? Okay, what do you want them to get from it? Okay, it could be some lesson that you learned that you want to show your audience. Okay. One of the most memorable papers I had was, there was a student, that was in a bad relationship, but ultimately, I won't go into the details of it, but ultimately the lesson this student learned was to value themselves. All right. So part of the paper was about this student being unable to exit that relationship because they didn't value themselves, or they didn't think they deserved better. All right. So that was a good paper. You don't have to write about anything like that, of course. Like I said, you can keep it, you can keep it light, or you can go heavy. That's up to you. I don't share, I don't tell people about stuff you wrote, like with your names on it. It's like, hey, guess what such and such wrote about? Okay, I don't do that. You know, if I do share something, I always keep it anonymous. All right. And then here's just some mechanical stuff. Try your best. I know we haven't talked about paragraphing yet, but try your best to break your essay up into paragraphs. Don't write one long paragraph for your essay. Okay. And we will next week, you know, have a discussion about paragraphing specifically. But yeah, just try to break it down best you can. And really just a rule you can keep in mind going forward before we have an in-depth discussion about paragraphing. You know, when you start discussing a new phase of your narrative, or like if you're discussing a new, say you move to a different phase of your life, like, you know, hey, you know, I was in 6th grade here and now I'm in 7th grade, new paragraph for 7th grade. Okay. Or when you're about to discuss a new aspect of your experience, start a new paragraph. Okay. Or if you just want to give your reader a moment to pause and reflect, start a new paragraph. If you write a paper that's one long paragraph, it's the equivalent of being in a conversation with someone, but you can't get a word in because they're constantly talking. Okay. So yeah, break it down, you know, to the best of your abilities. Again, I go back to how we started this discussion. It's the first draft. Okay, it's the first draft. All right, I'm gonna skip over this next one. I would just say, you know, proofread it to the best of your abilities. Okay, use Grammarly, use Editor in Microsoft Word, but you know, you're gonna have a chance to revise. Here's the main thing though. I'm gonna bold, underline, and highlight this because it's that important. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay. One, there's the temptation to think, well, you know, it's only 2 pages. I can knock that out. You knock that out in about an hour. All right. And you might be able to, but you just have to ask yourself, you know, is it going to be your best work? Okay. Is this going to be your best work? And you know, is this how you want to represent yourself? All right. So don't wait to the last minute. Okay. You won't get the results you're looking for. Okay. Writing doesn't happen by magic, happens by planning. And then sometimes when we wait to the last minute, you know, you go into panic mode and your anxiety is way up. Yeah, so don't do that. Okay. One of the best strategies for writing is to do a little bit every day. Do something every day. Sometimes that's brainstorming, right? Just jotting down ideas. Other times that's, you know, knocking out some paragraphs. But if you spend a little bit of time every day, as opposed to like, all right, you know, it's Sunday night, or better yet, it's Monday morning at 1 a.m. Like, all right, I guess I should get started. Yeah, don't do that to yourself. Okay. Don't do that to yourself. All right. Because it's being a student, or basically being a human being, you know, just trying to function is already stressful enough. All right. So don't do things that add stress. All right. And then finally, write undistracted. Okay. Last week or the week before, I can't remember, we talked about or I briefly mentioned the Pomodoro method, where you just get a timer and you do whatever you're going to do for that 20 minutes. Get a timer, set it for 20 minutes, and just do whatever you're going to do for that 20. Just do it undistracted. Don't look at your phone. Okay. Tell the people, you know, who depend on you, is like, hey, you know, I need 20, 30 minutes of undisturbed work. All right. So yeah, you know, write undistracted. Write undistracted. That's your best bet. Actually, these last 2 bullet points, these are some great keys for success. Don't wait to the last minute and be undistracted. All right. If you go to that time management online seminar, you know, they're probably going to tell you, you know, don't wait to the last minute. All right. Don't wait till the last minute to do stuff. All right. Or keep a calendar. Right. I have you guys can't see it, but I have my dry erase board to the left. And that's, you know, that's how I keep up with all the things I need to do. All right. So here it is. Oh, duh. Forgot the most important part. The first draft. Okay. 2 pages due 1 week from today. Okay, 2 pages, 1 week from today. And a week, you know, it gives you enough time, right, to see a tutor. Maybe you want to just knock out a draft and then go take your draft to the tutor. That's cool. Also, let me just go back. Okay. Ask a librarian. You guys don't have NetTutor on your is this all you guys see? Oh, let me see. Because I can put the link up here for NetTutor, but I thought you guys already had a link to it. That's interesting. Let's see. Oh yeah. Why don't they have a link for NetTutor? Okay. It just takes you to the ASC, but I will I will also add a link for NetTutor. This is the ASC. All right. So where you can sign up for a tutor. But NetTutor also allows you to upload papers. And I thought you guys could get to it, but maybe not. Let's see, more services. No. Okay. I'll put a link to NetTutor. I also have just a quick video showing you how to use NetTutor. And NetTutor, I know I briefly covered it I don't know, a couple weeks ago, but NetTutor, it just allows you to upload a paper, and you know, they usually turn it around, they usually send it back in about 24 hours. All right. So what I'm saying is, don't get started at the last minute, because you know, you won't have, you just limit the opportunities you have to use these resources. Okay. So that's the paper, folks. That's the paper. Okay. Again, where are my classes? Yeah. Okay. No, I'm in. I keep forgetting I'm in student. There we go. Okay. Student view. All right. Let me go back into content. Okay. So again, just to recap, my people. Okay. That assignment is in its own module. Okay. I did not add it to one of our weekly modules because I wanted it to stand out and I wanted it to be easier to find. Or I didn't want it to get buried among this other stuff. Okay. So again, click on this module. Here's the prompt right here. But if you want it as a Word doc, just click on the assignment, go to the bottom, and here it is. Okay. And then when you get ready to turn it in, you can just go upload and, you know, just find where it is. Bam. Okay. And then submit it. It's turned in. Okay. I turned mine in super early. Okay. All right. I will recap all of that too in once I post the recording of this class. Okay. And now I said I wasn't going to keep you that long today. Okay. Common stuff. I still have it in mind. All right. But let's do a draft first before we get too heavily into that. Let's do a draft first. I have some support material that I get posted on the D2L, but we'll go over it as a class, like once we get once you guys get a draft in. Because once I look at your drafts, that'll give me a more specific ideas of what we really need to be focusing on. All right. So now, good people, let's look. I'm in our book. Okay, you can get signed into your book or you can follow along here. Okay, I'm just going into writing processes. And also, if you look on D2L, okay, there's supporting material for this. Okay, let me actually open this real quick. I don't want to cover all of this. Actually, there's only a few slides. Okay, before we get into the book stuff. This is basically the same stuff in the book. And Writing process, it's I keep saying this, right? Writing process, writing process, writing process. But the writing process, it's just that. It's the process we go through when we have to write an essay. Um, maybe we go through this process as well when we put a cover letter together. Maybe we're applying for a job. I recommend going through this process with certain modifications, of course, when you have to submit something of that nature. But writing, it's like it's just steps that we go through, and essentially it's pre-writing, which is the stage we're in now with our essay. Pre-writing is just the space where you generate ideas. Okay. And for me, pre-writing, this is my strategy. All right. And I'm old enough to remember before everything went digital. So I'm all for going digital. All right. But I was saying, like, I used to just write stuff on anything that was close to me. Like if I had some ideas, I'm like, man, I don't want to lose this idea. So let me write this down. Okay. Scrap paper, Wendy's napkins. All right. I used to get a lot of stuff done at Wendy's when I was in school for some reason. All right. So yeah, that's my strategy. Okay. Brainstorming, where I'm just like writing down ideas. And I'm writing down anything that comes to mind, knowing that I probably won't use all these ideas. All right. Knowing that I probably won't use all these ideas, but every brainstorm session, there's going to be a few good ideas generated that you want to pursue. All right. And I'm just going to skip around a little bit. Okay, because not many people use like looping, clustering, and this is a good strategy for us as well. Just asking yourself like the journalist questions is what they're called: who, what, when, where, how, why. So think about what you're going to write about. Okay, when did it happen? Who was involved? Right? Where did it happen? Okay, what details do you want to include? Right? What happened as a result? Like, what was the aftermath of this thing that you just wrote about? Okay, so things like that are the questions that you're asking yourself, and you're jotting that stuff down too. But whatever method you use for brainstorming, really, you're just trying to work out what's going to go in your paper, and then if you want to take it a step further, what's going to go in your paper, what's going to go in my paper, and how am I going to organize this? Okay. So that's the first stage of the writing process, pre-writing. And it's just brainstorming. It's gathering your ideas. It's getting those ideas together. All right. Now, developing, I want to come back to this. Why? Because again, for this essay, our thesis statements are going to be relatively similar, meaning like, here's this thing I went through, here's what I learned from it. Okay. Okay. So really your thesis statement is just going to have, what you went through and then what you learned from it. So our thesis statements are going to be, like I said, relatively similar for this assignment. But when we do our common essay, all right, there's a few more rules we have to stick to. So we'll go more in depth about that, or at least after you guys get a draft of this essay in. Okay. I am. Now, pre-writing. That's your brainstorming. Now it's like, okay, I have my ideas together. I know what I want to write about. Okay. Now it's time to start putting it together. Now it's time to start putting it together. First thing you want to do with your essay, the very first thing you want to do with your essay when you start writing it, get an MLA paper set up. Get your MLA format set up properly. Name, instructor name, class and date to the left, and your last name and page number to the right. Okay. So make sure like all that's set up before you even get started. Okay. And then, right, our book, okay, gives us some great advice. Write quickly in spurts. Okay. It really just says, you know, try to get as much as you can done. Okay. If you need to take a break, take one. All right. But yeah, you know, it's fine. Like sometimes you're really feeling it. Like I just said, use the Pomodoro method for 20, 30 minutes at a time. But you know, sometimes you're really feeling it and you just want to keep going. That's cool. Go. Go. Okay. Go where it takes you. All right. And that leads into that next point. You know, expect surprises. Okay. Maybe your writing takes you, you know, somewhere, or you're writing about something and this happens a lot. You're writing about one thing and then you get some additional ideas. And it's like, okay, I want to work these into my paper. That's fine. Okay. Maybe you put them in that draft or maybe you save them, you know, for an upcoming draft. Okay. Now, here's us. This is mandatory for the class, but this is with anything you're writing, I would say. Well, you know, barring like texts and, you know, things like that. Expect to write more than one draft. We're writing at least 2 in this class and then the final draft. So that'll be 3. Okay. But, you know, sometimes it takes more than one draft. And that's, you know, you will have some classes at OCC, maybe like a history class or a sociology class or something like that, where you have, it's not a writing, they're not writing classes, but there's writing assigned. And, you know, the teachers in that class are only they don't care about rough drafts like English people do. All right. So, but you're going to still want to do rough drafts. It's just that you aren't going to turn those in. Okay. So, yeah. Prepare to do more than one draft, you know, in most of what you write, and definitely all of your academic writing. Okay. And then the main thing, I keep saying it's the main thing, like everything's the main thing. All right. Don't worry about correctness. Okay. You can always go back and check that stuff out. First draft is all about ideas. Getting your ideas out. Okay. Getting your ideas out. And, you know, we can break it down and rebuild it, you know, as we need to. So don't get caught up. Like try to catch fragments. You know, try to catch, you know, the stuff that we talked about Monday, fragments, but don't let that hinder your process right now. Like don't jot a line and say, oh, you know, this is a fragment. Worry about that stuff when you like get your draft out and then worry about that stuff. Like go back and look at that stuff, but don't think about that as you're writing. Okay. So now we're up to 2 parts of the writing process, right? Pre-writing. Okay. Drafting. Okay. Now you finish the drafting process. You'll be done with that Wednesday of next week. You turn in a draft to me. Okay. And then let me just do something real quick. Let me see if I can do it in sufficient time. Gotta go out of screen share for a minute. Where's that stop screen share thing? Okay, never mind. Never mind. I just emptied a bunch of stuff from last semester, so I don't have any drafts that I can show you. But I was gonna show you what, let's see if I have any in this folder. A draft looks like with my feedback. Okay. Now I have some of my old D2L pages, but when you get a paperback from me, you're going to see stuff like this. I went over the color codes, but you're also going to see things like this. Or better yet. All right, so I use the comments a lot. All right, and I use the color codes. Again, I will put the key for the color codes up, you know, when I give you your papers back. But what I'm saying is when you submit a paper, you know, you get feedback, okay? And your first draft, I'm more or less, like I'm not really gonna be focusing on the mechanics of it just yet. I basically am looking for like content, like getting your ideas out. So run-ons, fragments, you know, I may point them out in this draft, but it's not gonna be something I'm focusing on specifically. All right, like if there's a lot of them, I will say like, hey, you know, let's work on fragments. All right, but you know, content for this draft. Okay, now, okay. So yeah, you get feedback, okay? And when you get feedback from me or from any instructor or from your tutor, read it, okay? Read it. Take it into consideration. One of the ways that one thing that could hurt you in this class is if you don't take feedback into consideration. Meaning like if you turn in draft 1 and then you get feedback and then you submit draft 2, but you haven't, you know, you haven't revised your paper is what I'm saying. Like you turn in the same draft basically. All right, that can hurt you, you know, for this essay. So, you know, take your feedback into consideration. Now, sometimes you may say like, hey, you know, it's a good suggestion, but I like what I have here. That's fine. All right, if you want to do that, because ultimately, you know, your name goes on your paper. But, you know, at least, you know, look at it. And also, you know, if I or your tutor or whoever, if they give you some feedback about organization, that you need to act on those. Okay, it's like, well, you know, your paper's a bit hard to follow because of, you know, this and that. Okay, now, okay, you have to act on that. Okay, now you get your paper back from me. Okay, and for your essays, like if you turn them in Wednesday, I usually try to turn them around by that Monday, the following Monday, the following Wednesday at the latest, like a week. All right, at the latest, but I try to get them back, you know, by the time we meet again. All right, it just depends on what's happening in my other classes or how many, like what my workload is. Okay, so you get it back from me and I'll say, hey, you know, let's start working on draft number 2. Okay, now revising. Okay, revision. Right, when you put the prefix re in front of something, it means to do it again. Right, and you know, vision obviously, right, means to see. So that's what we're doing in the revision process of our papers. We're seeing it again with fresh eyes. Okay, because by the time you get your paper back from me, you'll be away from it, or you will have been away from it for a while. So when you look at it again, you're going to be looking at it with fresh eyes. Okay, so the first thing you should do, of course, you know, look at your feedback, but also read your paper again from beginning to end. All right, just read it again from beginning to end. And the thing about revision, okay, yes, you know, you're going to be responding or you're going to be reacting to the feedback you got from your instructor or from your tutor or from whomever. All right, of course you're going to do that, but revision is more than fixing. So you aren't just going through your paper saying, hey, you know, professor made a comment here, I'm just going to fix that. You know, professor made a comment there, I'm going to fix that. That's not revision. Okay, revision is not fixing. All right, you are, you know, making adjustments that your instructor or tutor suggested, but you're also going through your own paper and seeing what you want to change. All right, and I think that's how you know you're making some progress, you know, when you're revising, meaning, or you're making some progress when it comes to your writing, because now you're looking at your own paper and saying, you know what, I want to change this. I want to add something here. I want to cut this part out. I want to organize differently. All right. So that's, again, that's one of the goals of this class, to get you in that space to where you're catching your things. Don't, again, your teachers, we're here to help. We're here to give you feedback. Of course, I'm more than happy to do that, but it's like, you're the captain of this ship, so to speak, meaning like it's your paper. You're in charge, right? You're in the driver's seat. So you have to determine, what will best improve your paper. And again, like I'm saying, you'll have my assistance, of course, but your paper at the end of the day. Okay. Now, some of this is for more. Our first paper is a narrative, so claims, reasons, evidence, that wouldn't really apply here. But something I put on papers a lot. DARK. And it just means don't assume reader knows. Meaning like, don't assume your reader knows what you know. Okay. Whether you're talking about, something that's culturally specific, something that's specific to a particular profession or a field of study. Last semester, case in point, last semester, had a student, right? A military guy, good student. But student, man, like he would always throw these military terms in his paper. And I'm like, dude, like, everybody doesn't understand this. All right, meaning you would only understand it if you are in the military, or if you knew somebody in the military that you have close contact with. All right, so if you're using acronyms in your paper, break it down. If you're using things that only that are culturally specific, break it down. So you're basically you got to let your reader into your world. Okay, got to let your reader into your world. Okay, and then finally, okay. First, I want to make a distinction between revision and editing. They're two different practices. Okay, and revision comes first. Revision, organization, right? Clarity of ideas. Okay, adequate detail. Maybe I use too much detail here. These are what we're looking for as we're revising. So revision just focuses on big ideas, focuses on organization. All right, content development. What I'm saying is revision focuses on these ideas because if our papers aren't organized, it doesn't matter how many times we ran our paper through spell check. Okay, if the content isn't there, it doesn't matter how grammatically sound it is, or it doesn't matter that we don't have any typos, because if our reader can't follow our paper, none of the other stuff matters. All right, so revision comes first, and then editing and proofreading. Okay, and not to say that this isn't an important stage, it's a very important stage, but you just want to make sure you get your ideas together first, because really editing, proofreading is kind of like adding a final coat of paint, all right, to whatever you're working on. Okay, that final coat of paint, just making it look nicer, adjusting it here and there. All right, definitely taking your paper through. I know it's not called spell check anymore, but I'm calling it spell check for now. But it's editor. Just go in this review tab and then go to editor. All right. Oh, read aloud is good too. All right. So yeah, sentence structure. Now we're looking at fragments. Okay. Comma splice, run-ons. Okay. We're making sure we have capitals where we need to. We're making sure we're using the proper punctuation, right? We're making making sure we're using the right words. And when I say using the right words, I mean,
Excuse me, Professor Norwood. We can't.
yes.
Are you trying to show us your screen?
Oh, I did exit screen share, didn't I? That better? Okay. Can we see it now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I can see it now.
Okay, very good. Very good. All right. So yeah, when I say word choice, I mean, okay. Yeah, there, and there. All right, things like that. All right, but we're checking for that stuff in the revision. Excuse me, in the editing stage. Again, it is the final stage, but you know, don't skip over this phase. All right. See, I don't want to go over paragraphing just yet. Okay, and we don't peer review in this class, so what time is it? All right, 15 more minutes, and then I'll let you guys get to it. Okay. And these slides, these are on D2L, and it's really just a more condensed version of, you know, what we just covered. All right. This is you know, start out with a quote from Toni Morrison, a great writer. But Toni Morrison, you know, she's also big on the writing process. Toni Morrison, you know, was a great novelist, essayist, you know, just a great thinker, somebody who I have a great amount of respect for. But, you know, even someone as prolific as Toni Morrison, right? A great writer, The Bluest Eye, Sula, all these great books. Okay. She still goes through the process. And I'm just going to skip around. I don't mind writing badly for a couple of days because I know I can fix it and fix it again and again and again, and it will be better. That's the approach we have to make, or we have to approach. That's the approach we have to take. All right. I don't mind writing badly for a couple of days. Okay. And not to say we should intentionally set out to write badly, but we should not be afraid to put our ideas on paper because, oh, you know, this doesn't sound right, or this isn't right for whatever reason. No, okay? Don't be afraid because we're gonna revise. We're gonna revise. And then let's say, you know, hypothetically, and first of all, I don't use the words like good and bad when I describe papers. All right, there's just papers that, you know, some papers have more to improve upon than others. That's all. Okay. But let's just say hypothetically, you know, you wrote a paper, right? That you consider bad. Okay, that I probably won't consider bad because students are really hard on themselves. But even so, you know, you think you're the first person that wrote a paper they didn't like. Okay, you're not. All right. Like I've seen students, you know, really struggle with that first draft. And by the time they get to the final draft, like they're sort of amazed with the work that they did. And it's like, no, man, you could have done this. This was you the whole time. Okay. This is what was in you the whole time. We just had to pull it out. Okay. So bam. And here's some good stuff about writing. Okay. Expression, self-development, critical thinking, communication skills, demonstrates knowledge. You can show what you know. But really, bam, essential job skill. What? I need to write for a job? Yes. Okay. You can click on this link. It'll show you just some of the ways you use writing to get jobs and in jobs, especially if you're going into education. Okay, writing is going to be a fact of life for you. Okay. I have other reasons. If we were in class, I'll ask like, what are some other reasons we write? Okay, here's a cycle. This is so true, man. So true. Students who read write better. Students who write better read more. Okay, this is a true cycle. All right, and this is why I said early on in this class that, you know, writing is your best reading, or excuse me, reading is your best writing teacher. All right, but I'm gonna start going in rapid fire a little bit. There we go. This is our process, folks. This is just what I went through from our textbook. Planning. This is where we are now. Planning. drafting. This is where we're going to be soon. Okay, soon. All right, soon you can define that however you want to. Okay, rereading feedback, that's going to be next week. Okay, revising, that'll be next week. Revising and editing, that'll be next week. Okay, that's our process, my good people. Try to take yourself through this process. Okay, one thing you'll note, like the more you write, the more normal this process is going to become, and then it'll start moving faster. Like you'll be in a composition 1 class, and as soon as the teacher gives you the prompt, you're already brainstorming, you're already planning. Okay, you're going to be ready to write your draft sooner. But again, just stick to the process, and you will see the results you want. Okay, it's not a guarantee, but it is. You're just going to put yourself in a better position. Okay, and that was it. That's a short presentation. I just wanted to show you that writing process all on one page. Okay, now okay, that material that I just showed you was in I'm in the week 3 module. Okay, now before we wrap up, everything I'm about to say as far as our assignments, I will recap in a Zoom announcement once I get this class uploaded. But there's a few assignments in addition to our paper. Okay. First thing, our book, right? We're reading up to page 74 this week. Okay. Reading up to page 74. And what chapter is it? Let me see. Getting into stuff. Yep, 74. Okay, 74 stops at the end of chapter 5. Okay, if you want to go beyond that, cool. But that's the reading for this week. So 35 to 74. That's the first thing. And then, of course, there's some reading questions right here. This is all in the week 3 module. Okay, now there's 2 discussion questions this week. 2 discussion posts. Okay, one is the writing process. Okay, how do you think? Okay, and most important words in that sentence, you think. How do you think academic writing differs from the writing we do every day, like social media posts, texts, journal entries, or whatever? Okay, and then in your own words, what's a thesis statement? Now, if you don't know, or if you haven't done this in a long time, that's cool. Okay, don't look it up. Don't look in your book. Okay, for right now, because we're going to have a broader discussion about this. But for right now, in your own words, what's a thesis statement? Okay, sum it up the best you can. And then what are at least 2 brainstorming strategies that you have used or plan to use? Okay, and then you can look this last one up if you want to, or you can go just based on what you know. What's the difference between revision and editing? And again, revision, content, organization, all that good stuff, and then editing, typos and proofreading, not proofreading, but typos and grammars and sentence structure and all that good stuff. Okay, so that's one discussion question. And then the second one is related to our book. Okay, and then there's a sentence structure quiz. So if you didn't get all that, I'll make a note on D2L and post it. That's all I got for today, good people. Questions for me?
No, sir.
Okay. Get to do it all again at 6. I'm very tempted to just post this recording at 6 for my 6 o'clock class. No,